I always like to kind of start out by telling everybody where I came from. I worked on Long Island in I came into the home improvement industry as a canvasser, and I found out I was kind of good at it, and I advanced to a van manager. Right, I ran a van of canvassers, and eventually I became the head of the department, and I had 4 and 5 canvas teams under me. So I had 4 or 5 vans that I had to keep full of people, of canvassers, productive canvassers, and each van held 10 people. So I typically needed to have at least 50 people at a time in my department just for canvassers. And one of the things we found out pretty quickly was not only did we need 50 people, this might shock you, but canvassers don't come into work every day, right? So we needed 60 and 70, and I really, in the beginning it was really challenging, and recruiting was something that we struggled with. But we eventually became pretty good at it, and then as Canvas was growing, the events team would ask me to help them with recruiting, and the sales team would ask me to help with recruiting, and the production office. And eventually I left my company and I went to work as a consultant with Hoty. And funny enough, I was initially doing mostly Canvas work. I was going on site and training Canvas teams for Hoty. And as things have evolved, I'm mainly doing recruiting work now, because it just seems like everything goes back to recruiting. Companies really struggle with it. And in this market, in this economy, you have a lot of competition. You even have competition right now from the federal government, right? So some people are telling us, hey, it's better for me to stay home and get unemployment, than it is to actually go back and work. So there's just so many challenges you have today. And I know a lot of you are worried about, rightly so, you're really concerned about installation crews, right? We have a lot of jobs in the hopper, but we don't have enough crews to put them in. So put the jobs in. So we'll talk about all that today. And like Liz said, feel free to send in your questions. We'll also have some time at the end for Q&A in case anything comes up that I didn't cover today. Feel free to bring it up. I'm happy to talk about it with you. It would be interesting if we were all together, what you actually think this says. This right here. What is this saying? Is it saying opportunity is nowhere? We disagree, right? We think opportunity is now here. We think this is a good time to recruit. I mean, think about it. If you have somebody that would rather work than sit home and collect unemployment, that's a good thing. That's probably a really strong employee. We believe there's a lot of opportunity right now, but there's some shifts that you may have to make within your own business in order to see your recruiting kind of go to where it needs to go. And we have Ann Mulcahy's quote here, and it's true. Employees are a company's greatest asset. One of the things I realized was if you're a manager, we always talk about customers, right? But your employees are kind of your customers too. You definitely want to attract and retain the best. We want to encourage them. We want to stimulate them. We want them to make them feel like they're really important. I've been to companies where the owner of the company is saying things like, hey, we made so much money last year, right? Business is booming. We made 50 million or whatever that number is. And then you have somebody from the call center that's kind of sitting there going, yeah, but that's great for the company, but I couldn't pay my phone bill last month. You want people to feel stimulated. You want them to feel like they're a big part of the company. And those people that work for you, I'm going to use this word culture a lot today. You want to have a great culture, and recruiting is one of those things where it needs to become cultural, right? It's got to be something that it's talked about all the time. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. Glenn Ross, right? Always be closing. Well, for us, always be recruiting. And that's the first thing. When you think you don't have to recruit, you need to recruit. Recruiting never ends. I tend to go back to Canvas sometimes, but that's a great example. That's a great example of a department that needs to recruit like crazy, right? Yeah. I used to have van managers that would say, hey, we've got 10 seats in the van and I have 10 canvassers, so I don't want to recruit because I don't want to have too many people. And my advice to them was, you can never have too many people. You're going to have 2 people call in sick, right? You're going to have 2 people quit. You're going to have somebody that needs to go into maybe a retraining. Unfortunately, there may be somebody that the company has to let go. And one of the things that can happen in certain departments is you can very quickly go from 10 employees to 5 employees overnight. Sales departments are like that. You know, you could think you have enough salespeople, but maybe, you know, sometimes competition's a good thing. They're saying, hey, we have plenty of salespeople. Why is there a training class? Well, you know, if you're in the bottom 10%, that's a problem. You know, that can be motivating sometimes. You know, so always be recruiting. Always have installers. You know, you never know when you're going to get real busy, and you know, you suddenly need to find a bunch of installers or something like that. So always be recruiting. It never ever ends. So our recruiting philosophy is attraction versus pursuit. Yeah, if you're recruiting all the time, you're typically always going to have someone that you may potentially hire, right? We don't want to. We want people to come to us. You know, like employee referrals are great. We'll talk some employee referral stuff today. Employee referrals you tend to hold on to them longer, right? They tend to have a better idea of what's expected with the job. It tends to be a much better hire rather than suddenly having someone or some people quit or something happens and you're starting from scratch. You know, they talk about stuff like commission breath, right? Like I can smell it on their breath. They just want to sell, sell, sell. It's kind of like that in recruiting too. You know, you don't want to hire out of desperation. You know, somebody said to me a long time ago, and I believe this is true, an ineffective leader spends 10% of their time recruiting and 90% of their time dealing with bad hires. You know, again, if we get recruiting into our company culture, our employees are going to help us recruit. There's always going to be people coming in, you know, and then once we get those people in, if we don't do a good job of managing them, and if we don't have a good company culture, they're going to go online, right? They're going to go to places like Glassdoor and write about how bad our company is and how bad the culture is, right? We want to go the other way. We want our employees to be raving fans, right? We want them telling everybody online how great we are, you know, what a great place it is to work. Somebody told me a long time ago, a great philosophy is that Top Gun. If you ever saw the movie Top Gun with like Tom Cruise, and you know, not everybody gets to be in Top Gun, right? It was a big deal. It's kind of like that with your company too. We want your company to be so great and the culture to be so great that people want to get in. They're hoping to get in there, right? It's you're Maverick or Goose. You know, you're Top Gun. People wanna fly with you. But the first thing we have to do is get our ducks in a row. You know, we have to look at who is. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. We have our first question that just came in, and I was sure. Going to say, my eyes, Goose.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. But Matt.
You like Goose?
So Matt wrote in asking, but how do you keep them from leaving? Which I think is something you might be touching on more down the presentation. So I leave it up to you. But Matt, thanks for writing in.
Matt, thanks for the question. We're definitely going to get there. But I mean, as we're kind of going into this, I would definitely say if you have a culture where people like working there, where you take care of your employees, you're never going to hold on to all of your employees. You know, some of them may leave for good reasons. Maybe they've outgrown the company. You know, and you don't really have they want to be a director of something, and you don't have a director's position, and they go somewhere else. You know, you're not going to hold on to everybody. But the better your culture is, the more likely you are to hold on to them. And as we go through today, some of the stuff we're going to talk about, you know, Liz, are you able to ask Matt a question? Like what job, what do you manage at your company?
All right. Well, Matt, if you want to write in the answer to that question, I'd be happy to convey it back to Chris. I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know if it comes back. But I would tell you that some jobs are, people do kind of canvas. They say canvassers. It's just a good, go back to canvas. They burn out in 3 to 6 months, right? But I had canvassers that worked for me for 3 or 4 years. And I think we had a pretty good culture, and I think that had a lot to do with it. Sales reps might burn out for being on the road, and they want to go into more of a management position where they're not on the road 12 hours a day. You're not going to save everybody, but the better your culture is and the more excited and more engaged they are, the better you'll do, like, kind of holding on to those people. We do need to figure out who the ideal employee is. Someone told me one time, like, we're going to get into job descriptions in a minute. People, sometimes people who are hiring just say things like, I want to get someone that can do everything. But the reality is, like, I'm on Long Island, I'm a Mets fan. We have a pitcher named Jacob deGrom. He's probably arguably the greatest pitcher in the league right now. I don't care if he can play first base, right? I need him to pitch. So we've got to figure out, if we're hiring for a position, who is the ideal employee for that job. So we're going to identify the prototype, and then we're going to find the prototype. Where do we find them? If I'm looking for a sales rep or a sales manager, it might not be the same place where I'm looking for, say, a canvasser or an event person. Our installers on LinkedIn and our installers on Indeed, they may or may not be. So we need to identify who we're looking for, identify that prototype, and then find the prototype, and then hire the prototype. Obviously, right? When we know we have the right person. And we start out with job descriptions. So sometimes we tend to beat around the bush a little bit with our job descriptions. People are afraid to say sales sometimes, right? Or in canvassing, they started calling it field marketing, or proximity marketing, and that radius marketing. Job descriptions need to be pretty clear. People shouldn't be shocked on the first day. If it's a door knocking job, they should know when they're coming in that it's a door knocking job. If it's a commission sales job, they should understand that. And they should also know what's expected of them. Does the job include weekends? Does the job include nights? That type stuff should be outlined in that description. Responsibility, hours, pay. Dress is a big deal. Did you ever interview somebody that came in a three-piece suit and they look great, and then the first day of work they come in camouflage pants and a t-shirt? Make sure they're clear on how they're supposed to dress, the benefits, the time off. This is all important to employees. So make sure they're aware of that. But I want to start off talking about employee referrals. I believe employee referrals are the #1 best way to find people to work for your company. Bring a buddy, earn some money. I would tell you that I work with some companies where, and I'm talking about management was not clear on what the employee referral bonus was. And to me, I think employee referrals should be talked about in every meeting. It should be talked about in every department. Your production department should know that your sales department needs sales reps. Your events team should be able to help you hire for Canvas. Your Canvas team should be able to help you find installers. Think about it. A canvasser's out knocking doors, and they walk up on an installation team. They should know that, hey, if I get an installer for the company, I get X amount of dollars. Employee referrals are the #1 way to go. There's a lot of things you can do within your company to like I said, every meeting you should talk about employee referrals. Some companies have text threads, like in a sales department, right? Hey, Jim just got a sale for $15,000. Sally just got a sale for $20,000. And we send those texts out to the whole team. Why not send texts out? Hey, thanks, Jim. You just got us 3 interviews this week. Really appreciate it. Hey, Mary, we just hired Sally. Thank you. You qualify for the $500 employee referral. This is what I mean by becoming cultural. It should be talked about all the time, constantly. So we're going to post award winners online, recognize their achievements, tag employees in the post, right? The remodeling group, this is my boss, Tony Hoty. If you ever get a chance, like if you look at Window Depot in Cleveland, that's his company. He is all about the referrals. He's on Facebook. Definitely check out Tony. He's like the employee referral king. It's one of the things that Tony and I many years ago clicked on. He's very big on referrals, even to companies that he's selling windows to. If they refer one of their neighbors, he literally has someone show up at their front door to give them a gift card and a gift basket, and they let them know that, hey, every time you give me a referral, we're going to show up with another gift basket, with another gift card, with more gifts, you know. And he constantly gets referrals from neighbors. He constantly gets 5-star reviews. If you look at their reviews, his reviews are perfect. It's all through referrals, and it's the same thing within your company. But I'll tell you, yes.
We do have we have a couple of questions rolling in, but this one being kind of relevant. And I think you actually just gave a couple good answers, but Megan wrote in asking what's a good referral bonus prize or amount, which I guess Tony would be kind of a pro on.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the things I hate giving amounts, and this is the reason why, because companies have different budgets and they're different sizes. You know, I've seen some companies that have referrals of $100 or $200. I worked with a company in Wisconsin that has a $1,500 referral bonus paid out over 3 months. You know, a lot of it depends on your budget. You know, if you're a small company, $100 might be a lot to you, but it'll be appreciated. And here's some things. Let's say it's only $100, right? Let's say it's a $100 referral bonus, and after they get through training or whatever it is, you're gonna give them the bonus. You could just put it in their check, right? Or in your weekly meeting or your daily meeting, you can cut them a separate check. You can have them come up and get the check, and everybody could clap, and you whoop it up, and you know that $100 could go a long way. You know, as far as company morale and things like that. But you know, it's so hard to put an exact number. Whatever's comfortable for you, you know, and your company. I used to do $500. I tell you, I did $500 in referrals for Canvas. We did $1,500 for sales, things like that. So I know a lot of companies now are offering high referrals for installers. If you can refer them installers, which I'm going to talk about in a little while, it might be $1,000 or $1,500 paid out over a period of time. The other thing I tell you is I used to before I went to work consulting for Tony, I remember I called him one time and I said, I don't understand that I'm giving out these $500 referral bonuses, and they don't seem to be that crazy excited about the money. You know, they're not killing each other to make the $500. And I remember Tony said to me, that's money in their pay. If it's just going in their paycheck, maybe it's going to pay bills and stuff. It's not that exciting. So one of the things I started to do is we'd raffle off like a PlayStation. I'd say every interview you get me, all I want is the interview. I'm going to give you a raffle ticket. And at the end of the month, we're going to raffle off this PlayStation. And if you get me the most interviews, I'll give you an extra 10 tickets. If you're the second most, I'll give you an extra 5 tickets. So even if somebody got me one interview, they got a ticket, right? You need a ticket to be in it, that kind of, you know, that kind of stuff. They'd be in it. And then I'd have other guys who go crazy. They'd be in McDonald's trying to talk to people in McDonald's to come work, you know, Canvas for us. And I'd have sales reps that weren't even in my department that were referring people because they wanted to get in and try to win the PlayStation and stuff. You know, so it doesn't even always have to be money. It could be something else that gets them excited. We did this around the whole company. If anybody in the company, no matter what department, sales, production, call center, whomever it was, if they brought us an interview in a company meeting, whatever, for every interview, they got to pick a gift card out of a bag. It could be a $10 gift card. It could be a $100 gift card. You didn't know, but they were excited, you know? And this is what I talk about it being cultural. It's exciting. Everybody's cheering. Everybody's, you know, hey, did you hear that Sally won $100 just because she, you know, got her friend an interview. That's what makes it become cultural. And the other thing is, we always say that they thrive. When I say they, I mean employees thrive on recognition. They love to be recognized. So the more you're able to put them in a text, the more you're able to acknowledge them in a meeting, the more they're going to do it for you. Because again, it's becoming cultural. This is Tony Hoty has a lot of funny sayings, right? This is one of them. Post and pray. A lot of companies, I'm just gonna throw an ad out on the internet, and then I'm gonna pray that someone actually comes in off the ad. You know, one of the things we talk about is the underemployed versus the unemployable, right? A lot of times when you're posting and praying, you're getting the unemployable. You're getting people that are just constantly applying to jobs, and you'll see it. A lot of them, you know, some of the resumes aren't always honest, but a lot of them are. You'll see, like, every year they're working at a different company. There's probably a reason for that, right? But imagine taking that unemployable person, maybe someone that doesn't play nice with others, and throwing them in a canvas van with 9 other highly dominant canvassers, or throwing that person into the sales department. You know, again, one bad hire can disrupt that culture. And a friend of mine, John Anglis, he was down in Florida this week, and he was saying, like, sometimes you make a bad hire and they end up holding your company hostage, you know? So we don't want to hire the unemployable. We want to hire maybe the underemployed, like that person that works at McDonald's, that, you know, or think about a waiter or waitress or bartender who works nights and holidays and every weekend, and now you can maybe show them a better way, you know, better lifestyle. They don't have to work on Thanksgiving or Easter or whatever it was if they're in the sales department or in the canvas department. You know, when you find those underemployed people, they can go a long way. And if you show them, you know, going back to the employee referrals, I've had canvassers that became sales reps that are now 6-figure, you know, they're making $200,000-$300,000 a year as sales reps, coming from, you know, being like $12 an hour plus bonus canvassers. Do you think there's some loyalty there, you know, when you can show them the way? So posting is fine, but posting and praying, you can't just post, right? We've got to put more lines in the water when we're trying to do our recruiting. Right, they're only doing it when it's needed. It's almost entirely online. There's not a lot of face-to-face when we're posting and praying. They're only using like 1 to 2 channels, you know, when they're posting and praying. We believe in a multi-channel approach, right? Guerrilla recruiting is like when you're out face-to-face, you know, like I tell canvas managers all the time, like, stand outside Planet Fitness and with signs, you know, get paid to do cardio, that kind of stuff, you know. If you're looking for installers, go to Home Depot, right? Where do the installers go? Where do the installers hang out? Do the people that are selling the installers their supplies know you're hiring, right? If they're selling them their tiles or their windows or whatever it is, the people that work in that store, what if they know you'll pay them $1,000 to get you an installer? You know, that's guerrilla. That's going out and finding people. Social media is huge. If your company's hiring, get everybody to take a picture of an ad or a hiring flyer and ask them to share it on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and, you know, all the other, I'm old, right? All the other sites where people are, you know, put it out there. And hopefully their friends share it, and then their friends of friends share it. And you know, it starts to build. There's still online classifieds. We'll mention student newspapers, things like that. I mean, again, you've got to figure out who you're trying to hire and where are those people. You know, so online classifieds, it could be trade magazines, it could, you know, could be you know, trade websites, you know, school, college websites, that kind of stuff. It's really just everywhere. Resume search we're going to talk about. You know, I have a bunch of recruiting contracts that I have with Tony Hoty right now. And in those recruiting contracts, I'm actually paying for services where I can go into, say, like Indeed, and I can pull resumes. I can find people that might not actually be looking, but might be, like we said earlier, maybe a little underemployed, and I can kind of find them and show them a better opportunity. You know, here they are. I mean, Career Builder, Monster, Craigslist, and there's so many places where you can advertise. And one of the things I found is, like, I was hiring for a canvas manager in Milwaukee. I could go, there's sites on Facebook where it's like Milwaukee brand ambassadors. There's door-to-door networks. There's so many places online where that paid and unpaid. A lot of these sites on Facebook, you just have to join the group and you can post for free. You just have to kind of find them. LinkedIn is the same thing. They have like door-to-door networks, sales networks. I'm in roofing groups and plumbing groups. Bath installer groups. There's just so many that you can find online, and you can actually have dialogues with people. And I can go on a place like Roofing Network and say, hey, where are there roofing crews in Indianapolis? And people will respond. The offline classified ads, again, like the church bulletins, magazines. Something that's not mentioned in here. I'm seeing. Liz and I were in Florida last week for LeadCon, and I was going for walks, and everywhere I was walking, I was just seeing signs on the street, now hiring, now hiring. A lot of restaurants. So the way a lot of us are struggling right now to hire, so are restaurants. Some places are saying that they have no, they only have takeout. They don't have sit down right now because they don't have enough people to work the restaurant. They're having problems hiring. So science, it could be on, do you have something on the side of your vans and your vehicles saying you're hiring with a website or a phone number? When you do a show on the weekend, do you have something there at your show that says now hiring? Again, it's cultural, it's everywhere. We're going to promote it everywhere. Outbound resume search is huge. It's a way, again, where you can find people that might possibly be a good fit for your job. We have Indeed popping up here. Indeed is great. I use Indeed. The way it works is you pay a monthly fee, and you get to do so many outbound searches on Indeed. Where we're going to show you, you can do it by company, you can do it by job. You say, I'm looking for people that have home improvement sales experience, and you'll get people that have their resume in the Indeed database. Career Builder, Monster, ZipRecruiter. So this is an example. If I was hiring for a door-to-door position in Indianapolis with Indeed, I can just punch in door-to-door canvassing in Indianapolis, and people start to, you can see here, people start to pop up. This person did door-to-door for ARC Contracting. This person was a canvasser for the city of Chicago. And you can start, you could do it that way by skill set. You can also do it by company. Hey, I'm looking for a home improvement sales rep. I know this company has a big sales department in my city. Maybe you search by company name. I was just down in New Orleans. I was working with a client in New Orleans, trying to help them build their team. And I knew that a pretty big solar company had just gone out of business. And solar sales reps, a lot of times they have in-home sales experience, and they also have door-to-door experience. So I punched in that company's name, and think about it, it's kind of noble if you think about it. I'm finding people that just lost their job, and we're bringing them in to possibly hire them, to put them back to work. So this is a great way to find people, is to do these reverse resume searches. You can see a call center representative by Renewal. Now we're looking for Renewal by Andersen sales, right? But call center popped up. Canvasser popped up. Now, these might be people that I can actually contact online and talk to them and say, hey, do you know any sales reps that are looking for work? Call center managers. And then you can get alerts, like if you sign up for Indeed, they'll send you alerts. Like if somebody, one of the things I look for, especially on Indeed, is if somebody has recently updated their resume, right? If somebody's working at a company and they've suddenly updated their resume in the database, that tells me there's a good chance they're thinking about a new opportunity, you know? So we look for these relevant alerts, you know, these kind of a notification that someone might be moving on. You know, so if we were looking for canvassers in Indianapolis, there you go. They just gave you an update.
Hey, Chris, we got another question.
Great.
Tim has written in. He asks, what is the best way to initiate contact with resume search? Thanks, Tim, for writing in.
The way they do it, like typically on Indeed, you have to send an email on the resume database search. You have to send an email to introduce yourself and say, look, you're basically saying, I saw they have templates that you can use or you can customize it. So look, I am looking for. You'll link it to your job posting. You probably have a job posting, say on Indeed, and you'll say, I'm hiring for this position, and I saw your resume, and I thought we might be a match. I'd like to speak to you about the job. And they'll either they could possibly ignore it, or they'll tell you, no, I'm not interested, or they'll tell you, yes, I'm interested. I want to hear more. When they tell you that they're interested, you'll then get their phone number and email address and all that type of information, and then you can make a direct contact. So one of the good things too about the database search is you're really only calling or texting or emailing someone that is showing some significant interest. If they're not interested, they'll either ignore it or they'll let you know, like, I'm not interested at this time. There's Renewal by Anderson again. Facebook is big now too. A lot of companies are starting to recruit on Facebook. It's very targeted. It's not that expensive to recruit on Facebook. And one of the things Tony loves is you can kind of look at the person you may be hiring. What are they posting on Facebook? It's a good way of potential employees.
And Chris, I'm going to chime in on that. Kind of what we're talking about.
Again, it's proactive. Yes.
That reminds me of what we were talking about a little bit last week with so much of the industry. There's been a focus on hiring, your canvassers, your sales teams, your sales managers. But, a lot of people are struggling right now on that installer front and that skilled labor front. And that
Yep.
You mentioned having seen a little bit more success with these more social grassroots levels in terms of a lot of those installer types. They're not necessarily posting out there or looking on places like Monster Indeed, but that you're finding a lot of the efforts on places like Facebook and other, again, more social oriented grassroots is working well.
Yep.
I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it's true, and one of the great things about, I know I mentioned Tony Hoty a lot, but he's, one of the reasons I had a very cushy job that I left to go consult for Tony, but I honestly do think Tony's the best. He's great, and one of the things that's great about Tony is a lot of the stuff we train on and teach, he's actually doing it out of Rocky River, Ohio, in the Cleveland area, and he would tell you that he owns a Window Depot and Bath Depot, and he had a crunch with installers. He hit that crunch, and he's been having some success finding installers through Facebook. Because Liz, what you said, it's very targeted, right? We're going to put into Facebook that we want people that do installations or bath installations, and it comes up on their page. So yeah, this is where it can be more grassroots, more precise, more targeted. I know a lot of people are not everyone's on Facebook, but even installers are on Facebook. We kid around like we kind of find they're not on LinkedIn and not on Indeed. but Facebook they are, and this is where you can target for window installers, bath installers, that kind of stuff, and get them at that local level. Absolutely. It's more targeted, and the great thing about it is it's not that expensive as compared to a lot of the other places. And again, like I mentioned, the screening is you know, I don't want to, if you're thinking about hiring somebody and then you see something on Facebook that would be something you might not want going on at your office or something. I mean, it gives you a lot of it gives you a lot of major screening tools, but yeah, you could definitely, I would say for those of you who are trying to find installers, aside from the real grassroots, like I said, going to Home Depot, going to where they buy their supplies, making sure people at the stores know you need installers and you're hiring and you're putting out a bounty, right? We give referrals if you find me someone. Facebook would be the other probably best way to find those skilled laborers. Yeah, again, tailored to your budget, because it doesn't have to be that expensive, and you can share. That's another point. Hey, we need installers. Right? People will share it. They'll tag their friends, right? It might go to someone that's not installer, but maybe their cousin installs Windows, so they tag them on that ad, on that Facebook ad. This Window Depot. This is something that Tony put out. $1,000 signing bonus. He's got it here. The government is paying people not to work right now. You may need to get creative. That's real. Again, a lot of positions you may be competing with unemployment. Unfortunately, eventually it's going to run out. But for now, some of those jobs, like a call center, think of like your hourly employees, right? Your call center, your clerical, your canvassers. You may need to get creative. Like this, like $1,000 signing bonus for entry-level sales reps. These are recruiting cards. These are great. We always had recruiting cards. We would give them out. We would think about this. I have a canvasser, 19-year-old canvasser, and I'm giving that canvasser business cards. They love that. They would have business cards, but they go into McDonald's and give the business cards out. They would write their phone numbers on there or their names so that we knew who generated that interview. Recruiting cards are great. Give them out everywhere. And again, recruiting cards are not that expensive in comparison. Business cards are not that expensive for advertising. And you have people that if your sales reps are stopping off in delis or whatever to buy, they tend to go to the same places to buy coffee, buy whatever. They can leave cards there. Hopefully they'll be able to leave them, or maybe you go to a restaurant, you get great service. You say, this waiter or waitress would be terrific, in our production department. Give them a card. These are a great idea, and again, very cost effective tools. If you're looking for installers or whatever, leaving pencils where they buy their supplies with your information on it, with your number, now hiring, that kind of thing. You're serving, you're giving them something they can use, but your name and number might be on there too. This is Grant Cardone. Tony and I both love him. He wrote this book, The 10X Rule, right? If you haven't read The 10X Rule, it's a great book. It's about giving a lot of effort. That's really what he's talking about. Like, you could give an average amount of effort, or you can 10X it, and there's different levels of activity. There's do nothing, right? Unfortunately, there's some do nothing in our industry. There's retreat, you kind of give up. Like I give up. There's normal. So I saw, if you know Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within, he's motivational guru, Shallow Hal movie, and all that stuff. He said that if you give normal effort, you'll typically get disappointing results. Average effort gets less than average results. So normal's probably not gonna. You might just get by, but it's probably not gonna bring you to where you want to be. you know, and then there's massive action. And that's really what recruiting is going to entail. It's going to be, right, massive action. This is a calendar, you know, 10x recruiting calendar. I can tell you this because I have a bunch of clients that I'm working with now that are trying to recruit. And we're recruiting for different, I'm recruiting canvas managers, sales managers, production people, installers. You know, we're really busy with recruiting now. Like I said at the beginning, I'm mostly off the road now. I'm pretty much just doing recruiting because we're that busy. And when you have that many positions that you're trying to recruit for, it's good to have a calendar just to keep yourself on track. And recruiting tends to be one of those things that people kind of forget about sometimes, you know. So having a calendar and making it part of your everyday also helps to make it cultural. Speed to succeed. You know, a lot of companies are great at running next day leads and same day. And we spelled succeed wrong now, by the way. I noticed that. But you know, we tend to move fast on hot leads, right? But we don't always move fast on hot interviews. And a great employee will likely make your company a lot more money than a great lead. And where most companies are already good at running that lead, leads, running that lead as soon as possible. But sometimes we tend to be a little slow when it comes to bringing in that person for an interview. If you speak to someone Tuesday afternoon that you might think is good for the job, you want them in that afternoon or the next day. You want a same day or next day with recruits, just like you're doing already with leads, right? That potential job candidate might be worth a lot more money than that red hot lead that you're looking at. The other thing, this is Tony's visual for interviewing, you know, and that's a whole other topic. But what I would tell you is, if you're just talking and talking and talking and talking in an interview, the person's going to get confused. We want to get the candidate speaking, you know. We want to get the candidate engaged. I've had people that seemed a little nervous, and when I ask them about their hobbies, they light up, you know. I'm like, all right, that's the person we want to hire, you know. But you don't know unless you ask questions and you get them talking. It's not for you to do a sales presentation. Then if you're doing a sales presentation in an interview, then more likely than not, you're hiring out of desperation, and that brings you down a tough road. And there's no shortcuts, you know. You don't want to. So sometimes you really like somebody and you just want them to start, but you know, if you take shortcuts, sometimes you end up with problems, you know, and you don't want to do that. It's up, you know, employment references, background checks, driving histories, drug tests. It comes down to what your company requires. But you know, once you start taking shortcuts, again, that's probably when you're hiring out of desperation, and it can lead to problems. Opportunity is nowhere. No. Opportunity is now here, you know. And again, recruiting is a huge opportunity. Great hires will bring your company to the next level. If anybody has any questions, this would be the times. I see we're coming up on 4 o'clock. I'd love to answer any questions that might be out there.
Thanks, Chris. All right, so yeah, we do have a few rolling in. Bear with me. Pull them on up. I want to make sure I don't repeat any of the ones that we've already addressed. Bear with me. So I do have a couple of other announcements. But
if I could give you...
I will go ahead and read off our first one. So we have Damien wrote in a little bit earlier. He says, I am a small business on the fence about bringing on a full-time employee to help hire, but struggle with justifying the cost. Any advice?
Yeah, you know, one of the things I would tell you is a lot of companies have hired recruiters, and they tend to, company recruiters are, to me, company recruiters are in addition to your current management team. Like, if you're a sales manager, canvas manager, production manager, if they're relying on a company recruiter, you typically aren't going to get the number. Maybe in production, because they might only have to hire one person. But if you're talking about sales, canvas, events, retail, installers, that they're kind of secondary to, in my opinion, to your management team. Your management team's got to be doing the recruiting. For instance, my canvas managers had to recruit for their van. They were not allowed to say, I don't have enough people in my van because our company recruiter didn't fill it. No, it's your responsibility to keep the van full. The recruiter is in addition to. So if you have a management team there already and you're on the fence about cost, my suggestion would be to kind of lean on your management team, maybe, if you don't want to take on that cost. A lot of times, you have managers that are experts in what they're an expert in sales, they're an expert in canvas, they're an expert in events. They may not be an expert in recruiting and they don't enjoy it. So they tend, what do people do if they don't enjoy something, right? They don't do it. So that would be my advice, was look at your management team first. Are they recruiting? Because the company recruiter is probably not going to change your world, but it can be expensive. And that it's good that you're questioning that, in my opinion. Very good to question that.
All right. So again, feel free to shoot over any comments, questions, or topics you would like to hear Chris expand on. So I'll give you a few more minutes. It is in your GoToWebinar control panel. And real quick, before we take our next couple of questions, we do have a very special offer for those of you who were joining us today. Bear with me one moment.
This is like Oprah. You're going to start giving stuff away.
You get a car. You get a car. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. So for those of you who are joining us today, we do have a special offer. Have a conversation with us, and we'll send you a gift card for lunch on us. If we are a good fit for one another, you'll also get $500 off to use towards your LEAP subscription. So whether you are in the business of roofing, windows, siding, flooring, kitchen and bath, or any other home improvement area, LEAP can, like I mentioned earlier, help get rid of the redundancies and the errors that slow down your sales process, so you can get a leg up on your competition and scale and grow your business. So give us a holler. Here's a chance, if you would like us to get some more information to you, just let us know on the poll you see in front of you. And I will go ahead and let you know first what our next question is. So Tim wrote in to ask, what are your expectations on do you have with guerrilla efforts, and how do you track the results?
Well, you got to track it in different ways. In Canvas, I'm going to track, are my vans full? Do I have enough people going out and getting leads? In sales, we might judge, do I have a lot of leads that aren't getting covered? Do I have leads that are not getting run because we don't have enough salespeople? In installations, do we not have enough installers to install the jobs? There's typically every department's going to have a way to gauge how recruiting is going. That's how I would gauge it. Do we have enough canvassers? Is every seat full? Is every lead getting run? That type of stuff. How long does somebody have to wait when they call into my call center? Do I have enough call center reps? So like wait time, that kind of stuff is all gonna be reflective on your, how many employees you have, how many good employees you have.
Very cool. All right, so I think that rounds out the questions that we've received. I will just say, since we have another minute, I really, really liked your concept of recruiting never ends. And that's something you shared with us at LeadCon, and is such a good mentality of, you might not have a position to fill today, but just as quickly, you could have more than one to fill tomorrow. So I like that approach of keeping it a around-the-clock process that's put in place, and has
and cultural. Yeah. every meeting, everything should touch on recruiting.
Very cool. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I'd like to say thank you, Chris, so much for sharing your time with us today, and thank you to everyone watching at home.
Yeah, no, it's great. I appreciate you sponsoring this because it's a huge topic. I mean, everybody wants to talk about recruiting now. And it's great that you gave everybody the opportunity to ask questions and, listen to me.
And so grateful to have you. If anybody else joining us today has other questions or would like to get in touch with Chris or, hear a little bit more about some tips with recruiting, but as well as retaining staff, shoot us a note. And we will be emailing out today's webinar recording to you first thing tomorrow morning. And please feel free to reach out and share it with colleagues and refer back to it as necessary. So have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, everyone, and we'll see you next time. And thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Liz.
All
Take
right.
care.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.